Hello, everyone in podcast land. I'm David.
And I'm Jono.
And this is the show where we travel from coast to coast, from best to other best, glory to glory. It's the Let's Wing It podcast.
Yeah, because now I'm an American.
I was going to start singing the French national anthem because for a second I blanked on the American one, but I don't want George Washington to copyright strike me. So
yeah, I know it's an interesting transition to be from Canada to the States. It's kind of like how I kind of go, like it's same but different, like how Asian countries,
but same.
Yeah, so it's like
I don't hate James Franco, but that's a great gif.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of differences, like subtle differences.
We're going to be talking all about that. We're also going to be talking about my impressions of the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. I've been playing through that. And we're going to talk a little bit about Picard Season 3. Yeah. I've seen the entire thing. Jono is just getting into it. So we're going to give you a spoiler-free impression. And
yeah,
you know,
we're going to talk at least for the first 2 episodes. It's
yeah, we might just, pause the podcast and watch the entire season right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because like it's hard because like there's only one TV in this house, and Jillian doesn't enjoy those kind of shows. So fair. I will watch it on my computer. But I'm using a 13-inch laptop, which kind of sucks because like I'm a person. Well, I've said this on the podcast. I watch something and do something. And it's like a little tiny box. And sometimes I'm like, wait a second, I missed something. I got to make it big. We watch it. Okay, that. And go on.
Yeah. And I think Picard is a show that is better on the big screen. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not old Star Trek where it's all intellectual, but yeah, it's not all spectacle either. And so I think it's a good show. It's a good balance. It's a good bit of both.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll let's talk about Picard first, because that's something that we're both kind of interested in. It's still kind of a hot topic. I think that's it for Patrick Stewart. And I think he's done.
I can't imagine he'll ever come back.
And then let's talk about, because driving across the states is kind of common, but kind of not common with a lot of people.
Oh.
And then we could talk about Final Fantasy, because when you said Final Fantasy, I was thinking 16, because that's coming out in June, I believe.
God, if I was playing that right now, I would fucking cry.
It looks fucking dope.
I'm on the wait list for the collector's edition. Which looks fucking incredible. It has like a big Ifrit holding like the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it just looks fucking incredible. But the problem is it's got a physical copy, which I don't want. I want a digital copy. And so I
I'll
probably have to get it, sell that, and then
maybe they'll give you a key. I don't know.
Maybe. I haven't paid for it yet, so I've been trying to convince procurement at work to get a copy for us to unbox on Short Circuit, and I will like dibs the fuck out of that statue, because that's the only thing I want. I don't really care about like pins or steel books or anything, but that is definitely my most anticipated game currently.
Yeah, no, I definitely saw I rewatched the trailer because I'm like, okay, I gotta refamiliarize myself with this, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this trailer is dope. It's actually dark, it's medieval, and it's just like, it's like, oh, they took a page of Game of Thrones. All right, that sounds.
I think it's dope. The first M-rated Final Fantasy, which is neat.
Yeah.
And it's got like blood and it looks very mature in the best of ways. And I'm here for it. I think 15 was fine, but it didn't feel like a Final Fantasy. It felt like a modern day thing with kind of fantastic beasts in it.
Yeah, because like I think I talked about it. I finished 15 early this year. And I thought it was a very interesting take on Final Fantasy, because I've played the majority of them since 10, and I kind of just stopped after 10. And then
wait, so you played the majority before 10?
Yeah, so I played 1 to 10, like I loved it. And then after 10 I was kind of like, I'm kind of done. And then like 11, 12, like 12 kind of sucked. Lightning was kind of, I think you and I talked about it earlier. And then
I think that was on the wing warm up. So if you guys want to hear more, well, actually we're going to talk about it right now. But so our Patreons heard it first, you know, on our exclusive wing warm ups that we do.
Well, I mean, that one was was that a wing warmer? Because it was kind of like a test.
I think it's not a wing warm up, but it's, something that's exclusive to the Patreon.
Yeah. So if you want to join the Patreon, go to patreon.com/letswingit. And we'll shout out all our awesome 14 drumettes at the end of the episode. But thank you guys. Sign up.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you played, 1 through 10, which is, I think the classic era is, 1 through 6, but depending on your definition, it kind of ends also at 10. Like 10 is kind of like the last classic Final Fantasy. I have a similar, I think I started a little bit later. My first one that I played was 7.
Yeah.
And then I played 8, didn't like it. I loved 9. I played 10, but then that was about the age when I was able to get video games for myself, and so I started like finding old copies or hacking systems so I could play it. So then I played 6 and then 4, and then eventually I played 3 on the DS. But I've never played through 1 and 2. Like I played it on the PSP, the remasters or whatever.
Yeah,
and I like 4 and 6, but I'm definitely a 7, 9 guy. I love 10. 10's probably my favorite outside of 7. I like 12. It's fine. I like 13 more than most people, but it's got its issues. It's got the slowest intro ever. It takes 5 hours. You're not even earning XP.
Are you serious?
For the first you don't earn XP for the first 5 hours. So you're doing all these battles that are automated, and like literally the first 5 hours of battles, it's just you hit auto battle and you'll win every fucking fight. And
5 hours of that shit?
It's so fucking long. And so you're just running through a corridor, you trigger a cutscene, you run through the corridor, you trigger a fight. You run through the corridor, you trigger a fight. It's so boring. But then once you get past it, it's a cool world. It's a good story. The music is fucking incredible in 13. I haven't played 14 because I'm not an MMO guy.
No, I think 11. It's 1 and 14. Oh, 11 and 14 are the MMOs.
Yes.
And I have a funny story about that.
Did you play any of them?
Yeah. So 11 I got when I was 17, and I thought you could kind of like play it as there's a 14-day trial on 11. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't need a credit card for that. So I bought it, installed it, and they're like, input credit card. And I was like, I'm 17. I don't have a credit card. And so I was like, I was going to ask my dad, but I already kind of like played the scenario in my head. And he was just like, he's just going to say fucking no. So I'm like, oh, I have my sister. She's 4 years older than me. She has a credit card. So here's the stupid thing. I will criticize my sister for this because she was kind of a paranoid nut. And so she was like, no, I'm not going to give you the credit card over the phone because someone can grab it and then charge my credit card and I'd be screwed. So wait 2 weeks and then I'll give it to you then. So it was like 2 weeks of just me going, this loading screen looks great. Yay.
Listening to like the intro music.
That's honest to God, that's basically what it did. I would just have it on one screen and I would just like surf the internet while doing it and just like waiting for it. And then she got it. She came, gave me her credit card finally. And I gave her money just so as a service fee to using her credit card. And I played it and I was like, oh, this sucks. Like you have to play with other people. And here's the kicker. Final Fantasy 11 was out, I think, at least a year in Japan before it came to North America. So you would have like everyone who would be just OP'd and they're just Japanese. And no offense to them, but they were just like, oh, you're just a stupid gaijin. I'm not going to help you. And you're like, oh. Yeah.
So they didn't foster a good community.
Didn't really foster a good community. And I just played it. I didn't like it too much. There was some people I played with that were great, like some clans, like old school clans. But no, I didn't really enjoy it. And I think it's the same problem why I don't enjoy MMOs. So some games I just don't want to play with people.
Well, we've talked about it on our games as a service criticism podcast. I'm not interested in games that exist to occupy my time, not to have a point or tell a story or, do something specific. I really am not interested in things taking my time. Time is my most precious commodity, and it's not even that the games cost $9.99, $11.99 a month. Who cares? It's that you're expected to be online for 20 30 40 hours a week. That does not interest me anymore.
It's not interesting because it's like one thing too is that when you play Japanese MMOs, this is one thing I find, or even just Japanese open world games, it feels so fucking empty. It feels like, I think this is the same problem you and I have with Elden Ring, is that, when you play an MMO in Japan, it feels empty. You play an MMO from a game from North America, like let's say Rockstar, even to a point of like Ubisoft, there feels like those things going on. It's like, oh, I'm gonna walk through this forest and those like vegetation.
They feel lived in. And I mean, the argument for Elden Ring is that it is like a cursed land and like
I just go as Japan. But, that's Japanese style.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's bullshit. That's just they didn't want to invest in making it a living, breathing world.
Yeah.
But I think that criticism carries forward to 15 as well. I think 15 is a good game. I think the combat system's fine. I like the setup. I think the story's fine. I watched the animes. I watched the movie.
Yeah.
But as soon as you're kind of just like put in that world, it's such a fucking boring world to occupy. It's just like these vistas that look good, but like you don't jump in the world and you're like, I'm just gonna like run in a direction and like see what happens. You're like, okay, I'm gonna open up my quest log. I'm gonna go to this quest. I'm gonna jump in my car. I'm gonna have my car auto drive while I fucking wait for my luxury car to slowly go through these country roads. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna run and fight a monster, and then I'm gonna rinse repeat a million times. And I was like, this open world sucks. Like, I don't care that it's open world, that I can drive places, I can go directly there.
Yeah.
I don't like, that's not fun. I want good levels. I want interesting design. I want dynamic encounters based on the environment, and shitty open world games fail to do that because they're more interested in just having it be seamless. And seamless, who fucking cares? I don't fucking care about seamless. I just want great dynamic encounters.
Yeah. 15 had like a really big problem because they sold the open world part really hard. Like I will say 15 had the best, to me emotionally, the best intro I've ever had. It's like, you just kind of like,
you're talking like the first 2 minutes.
The first 2 minutes, like you go in, you go like, oh, okay, bye, Dad. I'm gonna get married, and you kind of go, and then you have that song hit. I can't remember what the name of the song.
Stand by Me.
Yeah. And then it kind of goes in the car, and then it just reminded me of like the Metal Gear Solid. I think Guns of the Patriots, number 5 that we both kind of love. It's like, you kind of have to push the car.
4 is Guns of the Patriots.
Oh, okay.
5 is Phantom Pain.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So 4. Yeah. So like, like in 4, like when Snake is like going through that microwave tunnel and you're hitting that button, like me, like pushing that car at the beginning was just, it kind of felt like that. Cause you're like, totally. You're part of this world. Like nothing's perfect, and then you get there, you're like, "Oh, this sucks." like everything.
Well, and it's like as soon like that intro is so good. And I remember being like, "Oh, this is gonna be the best fucking Final Fantasy I've played in like years." Yeah. And then there's a bad music cut where they just cut the song kind of abruptly, and then you're just at a gas station talking to a sexy anime lady, and it's like, why has it got to be like this?
Yeah,
like, come on, like why?
Like, I will. Yes, she's very attractive. Like. She's a very attractive lady. But it's just like, why do I need this in the first like freaking 3 minutes of the game?
Yeah, I think it would have been fine if like 4 hours in, you're like, you get a quest with her.
Yeah.
And like, they can definitely have a female mechanic, but it's the fact that she's wearing like Daisy Dukes that ride up her butt and her boobs are out. And it's just like, why has it got to be like this, Final Fantasy? Why can't it just be like,
she has like
respectably dressed people? I don't know. I don't want to be a prude because like, yo, man, if you want, that makes you comfortable, cool. But it's designed by men to be like, look, she's so fucking hot.
Oh, and then she's like, hey, y'all, like the country accent. You're like,
yeah.
It's like, yes, it is like every boy's, or like, okay, every hetero male's dream to find a girl kind of like that. At least from my kind of growing up. But it's kind of like, I don't know, for some reason, it just ruins the game for me.
It just makes it feel cheap, and you start to see how the designers are trying to like tantalize you or titillate you.
Yeah,
because like, I think that sucks. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, because like she is like, okay, like I'm not trying to objectify females, but like she is the hottest character in that whole game, like female wise.
I don't know, Prompto's pretty hot.
Oh, I said female. Like as a female character, she's like the hottest. Like like.
Wait. There's the main party is it's Prince Noctis.
Yeah.
There's Ignis, and I think Ignis is like the smart one.
Yeah,
Prompto is the
gun.
Is the blonde twink.
Yeah, he's the blonde twink.
Who's the big
Gladius or Gladius?
Gladius. Yeah, Gladius. I think Gladius is probably the hottest one then.
He is the hottest, like male, like as a human being. He's a very attractive human being. Prompto
Noctis is too
kinda. I don't know what Prompto is because he's not a real boy. Because he's a like okay. Yeah, like anyways, Final Fantasy 15 had a lot of problems. But
yeah, it
had a very interesting, very different story because the way how it ended, because usually enough, like everyone's like, "Yay, we did it! We beat the bad guy. Go home." Oh, this one's all about self-sacrifice, and at the end you're like, "Oh, he like kind of," because when you get into movies and TV shows or games or whatever, you're like, "Oh, you're gonna sacrifice yourself at the end," but there's always like that kind of like weird opportunity where you don't have to, or they find those some sort of like weird occurrence that you do survive. But no, like this one's like, nope. You go, you die, and you save the world. That's it. And like this one was just like verbatim. Like they were hinting at it the whole game, and it finally ended like that. And it was just like, oh, like it hit me so hard. I'm like, fuck, like that's so sad.
I can vibe with that. I think that's a bold choice to make.
Yeah.
I never played the game, so I had to watch the end of the story on YouTube.
Me too. Yeah.
Just because it kind of, I don't know. I just lost steam after like 15, 20 hours.
You have to,
which is not unusual. I don't love open world games, and this was very much shitty open world. So
yeah. Anyways, Final Fantasy 15
I'm glad that's done.
Good. But it's kind of bad. I hope Final Fantasy 16.
Well, did you play? We have two more Final Fantasies to talk about. So Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Did you play Final Fantasy 7 Remake?
I played the first third of it, but I was like, I think I mentioned this before. I had the original PS4 and I was trying to play it on a 4K TV that upscaled it from 1080. So all I heard was like, the game was great. It was like fantastic. But all I can hear is in the background goes, I was like, ooh. I better wait for until I have a PS5.
I think that's fair. I fucking can't believe how much I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hold Final Fantasy VII very dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I'm someone that played, Dirge of Cerberus and Crisis Core when they came out. I unironically like Advent Children, fully accepting that it's fucking sucks.
I mean, Advent Children, yeah, it definitely had a lot of... Okay, Advent Children for North American standards super sucks. It's not a good movie at all. But if you watch and consume a lot of Japanese media, you're like, yes, this is a good movie. and
that's fair. And if you don't judge it based on like story and character arcs and stuff, and you accept it for 2 hours of fan service and cool cutscenes, it's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah.
Because like you get to see all the characters you like. Cloud's a little too mopey, but all those fights are so fucking cool.
It's super sick. Like, actually, the one thing I was really surprised, and even like we're just kind of touching base on the last kind of game, Tifa in that movie, they barely sexualize her in that movie. She's like tastefully like wearing what I would actually imagine what a real world Tifa would
version
wear.
of Tifa. Yeah.
And I was like, like she's not gonna wear a fucking tank top and short shorts and fucking be a brawler. She's like tastefully really well, and then she fucking kicks ass.
Yeah, she fights one of the Sephiroth brothers in the church or whatever, and that's a fucking great fight.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. Yeah, but Final Fantasy 7 Remake is really cool. I plan to play it when I get all my stuff back, which is what we'll talk about later. And then I think Final Fantasy 8 was fine, but I think if I was gonna like live and die for Final Fantasy, I would say 6. 6 is probably my favorite.
Okay, well, this is a good little transition because that's what I've been playing is Final Fantasy 6. I bought the Pixel remaster on the Switch. You can buy like the 1 through 6 collection for about $100 Canadian, or just individual games for $24. Yeah. And I was like, realistically, I'm gonna do 6, maybe 4. So I'll buy 6 and I'll see how I feel.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job. So the Pixel remasters have existed on PC for a while, but they've been kind of shitty releases. There's lots of bugs, inconsistencies, and like little quality of life things that are just like stupid. Like the font they chose on PC is terrible. It's really modern. It just looks out of place. And so for the PS4 and Switch release that they just had, it's a more polished version. There's still minor issues, but like the quality of life stuff is there, and it makes replaying 6 so fun.
Yeah,
because we talked a little bit on the test episode.
Yeah,
you have these quality of life sliders. You open a thing and there's a boost menu, You can turn up your XP gain, so 1x, 2x, 4x, so you can gain XP at 4 times speed. You can do the same with gold or gil, so you can gain essentially 4 times more gil than you would normally. Same thing with magic AP.
Yeah.
And then you can just straight up turn encounters off. And so what I find, especially with older JRPGs, is I'm interested in the story and experiencing kind of like the feelings I had. I loved listening to the music. They did a great job. They reorchestrated everything. So it's like the old music, but it's been modernized and is rendered in this beautiful symphonic suite.
Yeah.
And so I want to listen to the music. I want to experience the vibes. The graphics are good. They've extended it to be widescreen, and so it looks very faithful, but it's just a little bit sharper. There's even a CRT mode, although it looks kind of okay.
Yeah.
But they are smart to allow these sliders because I can play the fights when I want to, but I can just turn them off when I'm annoyed with a dungeon. I just want to get through it.
Yeah.
And I am thrilled because I have Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I enjoy going to that. But from now on, this will be my preferred version because I can play it on my HD CRT or on like just the Switch regularly.
Yeah.
And all these quality of life stuff make it so much more fun to play. I played 7 recently, like on PS4. And it was nice. Just every turn you can turn on that you have basically your limit break every turn. And so I was fighting sometimes when I felt like it, but I would just also use fucking Omni Slash every turn and just get through it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they know these older games don't hold up in terms of gameplay design.
Yeah.
Because we've done random encounters a billion times and they're not fun. They're just frustrating to modern audiences. And so I'm glad.
Yeah, no. The one question I have with the Final Fantasy 6, so like graphically, is it like roughly the same, or did they like put,
it's exactly the same. So it's a pixel. It's they basically took the 4:3 frame and then they extended it and they added more to that. That's very faithful to what it looked like.
Yeah.
There's a few like 3D-ish transition scenes. So like there's
fine.
The opera scene is sort of like an HD 2D look.
Yeah.
So instead of being like the way it was, there's actually like it kind of like has a little not panorama. Fuck. I can't think of the word.
Oh, yeah.
It has a little bit of okay, actually, let me look it up because I tapped my mic anyway.
Yeah. Is it like a mirage? You gotta mark this. Mark it.
Word. Damn it. I'll just avoid saying that. And so it gives you a little bit of that HD 2D effect.
Nice.
It makes it kind of a little more engrossing. In a few spots, there'll be like 3D look enhanced, but it's not very distracting. You kind of just like, it feels almost like it always belonged.
Yeah. This is the one thing about Final Fantasy 6, the graphics, I kind of laugh and it's kind of funny, is how your hero character looks so stupid against monsters and bosses.
Yeah. Especially when it's like another human enemy.
Yeah.
So there'll be like a scene where you're like, your rival martial arts enemy.
Yeah.
Or you're fighting him and you're this tiny little like 64 box sprite.
Yeah.
Versus this like 100 pixel high,
and
super detailed monster. It looks also a human.
Yeah. Cause like everything in that game, like enemies and monsters, is like, oh, they literally like lassoed it from artwork and put it in the game, which it looks great. I love it.
Really good.
But it's just like, I'm like, why do I look so stupid?
Yeah, they had to keep it simple, I guess. But it's funny. I have been appreciating that too. And so I think they did a good job. I think the only thing they could have done better is a full HD 2D remake. And I think that 6 and 4 are deserving of that.
Yeah.
But I would way rather Chrono Trigger gets an HD 2D remake. That's a game that deserves so much love, and respect, and people that were around in that time and were there to hear about it, and like even a couple years later hear about it.
Yeah,
appreciate it. But I feel like it's a game that's lost to time a little bit. And so if they did a full HD 2D remake, I think that would be fucking incredible.
So here's my kind of theory about that game will probably get a remaster for sure, just like how 6 is getting, or 6 got. But here's
I don't want that though. I want HD 2D.
Yeah. So like here's my kind of take on it. So they know what not to do with Secret of Mana, or whatever the fuck they want to call it. But they see, okay, people are liking this 6 and remaster, digital remaster, whatever they want to call it. But they like 7. So this is my kind of thing. They're gonna finish Final Fantasy 7 remake with all that kind of stuff. Probably gonna move to 6 because that's a safe bet. I'm like, oh, people like 7, they're gonna like 6. They're gonna remaster, like remake that. Gonna probably, depending on how Chrono Trigger remaster sales is, they're probably gonna start shifting. Might do a Chrono Trigger remake. This might be 10 years down the road. This is what my prediction is. But I'm kind of going, yes, I want a remake, but I don't know if I want a new story, because I remember you and I talked. I told you, I'm like, just ruin it for me. I don't care. I'll still play it. Yeah. I don't want them to change one thing in the story, because the story to me is like fucking almost perfect. I can't.
Well, it's so iconic too.
Yeah, it's like everything's so good. It's like, oh, I love Robot. I even have a point, like, I hated Luca, like that stupid nerdy girl, pixie, whatever. Yeah. But it was like, when you do her kind of like her story, like to get her ultimate thing, you're like, I kind of get it now why you're like 100%. This. And like every single character I sympathize. Like I love, like my favorite character is honestly Magnus, because he's like, oh, your childhood's fucked. Yeah. You're past boy to future boy.
It's an absolutely phenomenal game. And they've actually kind of failed to make a better version of it than the Super Nintendo version. Because there's the Super Nintendo version, there's the PS1 version, which is technically better because it has the anime cutscenes.
I don't care. Cool, the anime cutscenes sucks.
I like them, but the big problem is that there's load times. So every time you go in and out of places, it just takes like an extra 2 seconds to load. And you go in and out of places really often. And so it really adds up. Every time you go into battle, it takes just another couple seconds to get in there. Yeah. And so it gets very, very frustrating. And there's a DS version that is like theoretically the ultimate version, because it even has like a post-game dungeon thing you can do. Yeah, but they didn't really create new content. It's just like auto dungeon.
I played that version, and I played like one round the dungeons. I'm like, no, it's dumb. Out. Like
there's nothing to it. Yeah,
it's just like,
and so really, I think that game is due for like a full, at least a remaster. I think your hypothesis is actually pretty good. Yeah, I think I could see them doing a HD remaster, just like the Final Fantasy VI one, where they make it HD, or they make it widescreen. They give a little bit of quality of life. They update the music, all that kind of little stuff that doesn't take that much work. Yeah, and then they feel out if it's worth doing a full remake.
Yeah, because
which I would enjoy.
And then after that, I hope this is probably like 20. I'll be like an old man by then, but they'll finally make a true sequel to Chrono Trigger. Because I do not accept Chrono Cross as a sequel. Because like fuck, I don't want to play 35 different fucking characters in 100. Well, I mean, okay, Chrono Trigger had like 19 endings. So I don't want like 100 different endings. Like Chrono Cross, I was like, I played like 2 hours of it, and I'm like, no, out. I don't care.
I think it's a good game, but it's not a real like you're right. It's not a real sequel to Chrono Trigger. Yeah, and I also think they didn't get the feeling right. Yeah, and so it's probably the best looking PS1 game. That game looks really good for a PS1 game.
Yeah, that game looks fantastic. I think those other kind of games, but that's like a Sega game. I'm not gonna really mention it right now. But yeah, I think Chrono Trigger, like to me, I've played that game I think at least like 20 times. And
so good.
Honestly, if I play like 2 minutes of it, if I play emulator, if I play 2 minutes, literally when I step in that fucking first time portal, I'm like, oh, I have to finish this game now. No, goodbye weekend. Bye-bye.
See, I've only beaten it probably once or twice. Yeah. I've watched most of the endings on YouTube, but I've played the beginning a bunch because I was like, it's time to replay it. And then I'll get like 3-4 hours and I kind of fall off. Yeah. But I remember I used to work so hard to get the perfect like jury score when you're like at the trial. But then it's like realizing it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just like you're like, oh, fucking 9 out of 10. Gotta redo that shit.
Gotta redo that.
It's like, you have to ask her she's okay, like before you touching it. Oh, yeah, it's such a fantastic game. But here's a transition here. Let's talk about Picard, because I think you and I were both like super hungry for a good Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah. And you've watched season 1 of Picard?
Season 1, skipped season 2, went straight to season 3. And this is one thing David has said over and over again to me on the pod and off the podcast. You don't need to see the other seasons. You can just watch season 3 and have a good experience, except for those couple little things that you kind of needed to know. So I'll just spoil it right here and then.
Yeah, so spoilers for episodes 1 and 2 of Picard.
Oh, season 1 and 2. Oh no, here's a spoiler for season
1 and 2, and then episodes 1 and 2 of the third season.
Yeah, if you haven't watched season 1 of Picard, you
don't
just watch like maybe the first episode and then you make a decision. So
just don't.
So okay, so Picard dies technically in season 1, but he gets transferred into a new synthetic body that really doesn't matter because it still ages and he will still die. The only big thing is that I think he had cancer or
it was some degenerative brain disease. And that's a big plot point in the first season is that he's going to die because of this degenerative brain disease. And they kind of are going for an all good things sort of ending where it's like, is he crazy? Is he losing it? And they play up that he's old and frail in that season.
Yeah.
But so his physical human body dies.
It's fine. And Data dies. He's gone. Don't worry about it. It's kind of weird how he it's kind of beautiful how he dies, but the whole that's
probably my favorite scene. We can talk about that because that's my favorite scene in the first season.
Yeah.
So basically, Picard is plugged into a machine to have his consciousness transferred, or at least put in stasis while they figure out what to do with his body, and he gets to connect with Data, who's like living just in the computer. So it's just the consciousness of Data. Mm-hmm. And Data asks him, he's like, my whole existence has been to be human, and I want to feel the full gamut of human experiences.
Yeah.
And I want to experience what death is.
Yeah.
And so he asks Picard, when he leaves this consciousness, to kill him, basically pull the chips, erase him or whatever, and give him true death. Yeah. And so there's a scene where they're kind of intercutting like what they're doing in the real world, like pulling the chips out of the computer, and Picard holding Data as he's like dying. And that scene made me feel something in a good way, whereas the rest of the first season made me feel something in a bad way.
Yeah, because I mean, like, here's like the kind of relationship with Data and Picard is like, I was always kind of confused, especially when a kid. I'm like, are they like brothers, or is it like a son, or are they like kind of quasi lovers a little bit? And it's
I don't think that one.
No, not that one, but it's like those like couple like a weird tender moments. I'm like, it's kind of weird, but I mean, like, it's fine. End of the day, I think the more like Picard used Data to kind of check himself of like, what is humanity, and what you're supposed to strive for, because human beings, we don't have checks. Like, even for me, if I don't check myself, I become kind of an asshole. So. And
100%.
Yeah, Data's like, oh, should we do this thing? It's like, no, we shouldn't do that. And then you can always see Picard going, oh, like if he wasn't here, I would have done what he was talking about, and that could be completely evil. And the relationship was so strong, and Data was getting more human, pretty close, especially like Star Trek Nemesis. I think because Picard is basing off a sequel from Nemesis. Yeah, like I think that's what it is. Like it's a continuation. They really focus on the Borg aspect, the Romulan stuff, and they're really interested in. So I guess it is Nemesis that Data dies in order to save everyone. Yeah. I think that movie was pretty good.
And it's okay.
It's fine.
I'm the rule is the even numbered Star Trek movies are the good ones. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So 2 Wrath of Khan, 4 whatever the whale one is, 6 is Undiscovered Country. I think
that's a good one.
8 is First Contact. 10 is Nemesis. I think, or is that reboot? No, I think 11 is reboot. I think reboot. 2 is good. I think it's a little overrated. I think 4 is my favorite when they go back in time to save the whales. That's my favorite Star Trek movie. Undiscovered Country is very good, and First Contact's good, but I feel like all the next gen movies they didn't really know how to translate what worked in next gen into movies, and so they just were like, we're gonna make sci-fi space action movie and like put these characters in it, but they're not like the same. It's just like a different sort of thing.
They kind of like went like this. Okay, Borg is cool. 4 was cool because it went back in time, and we need to kind of like show some way of Picard gets Borg. First Contact, and which good. Like, honestly, God, like you watch.
I like First Contact. It's fine.
First Contact. I watched it, I think, like a couple of months ago. I'm like, give this a solid like 7.5. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good like sci-fi romp. It's not. You can tell at that point they were losing touch with what made Star Trek Star Trek.
Yeah,
and it's not. And like I think the TV show is infinitely better than the movies ever were. Like original series is way better than original movies. TNG's way better than TNG movies.
Yeah.
But I think that in terms of just judging First Contact as a movie on its own, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I have a fun time watching it. Like, there's good jokes. It's a good tension.
It's a movie. Okay, if that was First Contact's a movie where my nieces and nephew goes, I want to watch Star Trek, and I'll be like, okay, I need to show them a good movie to kind of suck them into it without having too much like lore building. I would go watch First Contact and then talk to me later, and then we can kind of go through a journey.
Yeah, I feel like someone at work, they're still on probation. I can't say their name.
Yeah.
They're like kind of interested in watching Star Trek. And so they've been asking me, like, where do I start?
How young is this person?
They're like 28, 29.
Oh, what? They should have at least watched some Star Trek.
And they just haven't. And so they're like, well, I've been like, okay, just start with TNG. I can give you an episode list, like skip these episodes, just watch these good ones.
Yeah.
Like, well, what if I start with the movies? And I was like, man, no, don't start with the movies.
Yeah, I just for me, I'm like, these kids are like 12 and 13, so I'm like, oh, they probably want to see explosions and cool things. I'm like, yeah, I think watch that.
I actually think that the reboot series is pretty good. The reboot movies series is pretty good because it's obviously way heightened from what the rest of Star Trek is, but it gives you like this really intense like processed version of what the characters were, and so you kind of get acquainted with them like with it by a slap to the face of character development.
Well, okay,
and so
I think the reboots. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
I think like for kids. Yeah. Oh God, we're talking over each other.
Oh God.
Well, let's mark the clip. You go.
Okay. Yeah. So all I'm really gonna say is that like with the reboots, it's kind of like the reverse rule. I know there's only 3, but 1 is good. 2 is 3 is really good.
I think that's the general consensus. I like 2 fine. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a cheap knockoff of Wrath of Khan, and it has a way worse ending. But I think the first like 30 minutes before spoilers for Into Darkness, before you know that Khan is Khan, even though you kind of know.
Yeah.
I think the first 30 minutes is pretty fun. Like the kind of short film of the dad seeing his daughter dying and like making a deal with this shadowy figure to get the blood that will heal her at the cost of his own life and betraying Starfleet. I was like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty good. And I felt the emotion and I felt engaged, and I understood realistically why someone would betray Starfleet. And I think that that's something that modern Star Trek has failed to do. There's always evil Starfleet and like, corrupt officers, but they've never done a good job making me understand that like, actually those people aren't evil. They're just, they're in a bad situation. And that was like the one moment of bad Starfleet that I was like, I can kind of see it. To save his daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like here's a real thumb in all Star Trek, which is really unfortunate. It's like, oh, there's a good probability it's a person in a position of power is probably the bad guy. It's like, oh, it's the Admiral. Let's fight some new enemy that probably does not exist, and you're just super paranoid.
Oh no, he's been working on secret cloaking technology behind everyone's back. Oh no, he's built a super warship. He wants to go to war.
Yeah, like spoiler alert.
You're like, oh,
yeah, spoiler alert. Even like Star Trek Lower Decks makes fun of that too, and it does happen.
Oh, good.
It's like, you can just see the guy going, oh, is it going to be like some sort of rogue admiral? And like in like 2 episodes later, it's like, oh, I was right.
Yeah, and so I think back to Picard. I think they did a good job. They all overall impression I'll give of the entire series without getting into specifics.
Yeah.
I liked it. And I was very pleased. Season 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so season 2, season 1 sucks, season 2 sucks. Season 3, I was pleased. And it gave me what I wanted out of a show like that.
Yeah.
It's fan service this season, and you can like pretty blatantly tell like this is for the fans, and it's like they're gonna throw a lot of member berries at you, but they do a really good job integrating it all into the story, and it never feels like in Rey like in Star Wars when they're like, check out the Millennium Falcon. It was just like chilling here, dude. It was like, what are the chances, dude?
It was a piece of junk.
It's like they'll actually integrate everything tightly into the story, and they do a much better job and thoughtful job of kind of like slowly bringing back characters. Like, and in the episode you've watched, Worf is back.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's just talk about the first 2 episodes. So, Actually, wait. Well, one. Let me point out a couple things. So in season 1, those two like ex-Romulan bodyguard people that protects Picard. One of them is
no, they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. One of them is like the romantically linked. I was like, I have no idea what this going. Maybe happens in season 2. I don't care. Whatever, just go away.
Matter.
And then I think the other one was who was that one lady who helped them in season 1? She's in season 3.
Raffi,
yeah. So she's in season 3. You kind of need to know a little bit about her to see kind of her backstory. A little bit.
TLDR. You need to understand. Yeah, it's like, okay, she's estranged from her family. You know, she's given her life for Starfleet, but she has a shady past.
Yeah, she was an addict, and shit goes down. But she's in season 3, and she's recovering, and she tries to do the best, but she's also still an addict, even though she's kind of clean. She's addicted to other things.
Best decision they made was to do a clean slate for season 3. Like there's a bunch of characters in season 1 and 2 that just really just aren't mentioned in season 3. They know the main character other than Picard in the first season. So like the main MacGuffin character in season 1 is Soji. She also plays many other characters because she's an android and they're all replicated and cloned or whatever. And so in season 1 and 2, she's a pretty big deal, especially season 1. I really don't think that that actor was the right cast. I think they could have done something interesting with that character, but I think they just cast the wrong person. Like she's not compelling, she's not charismatic. And I don't want to be super mean to her. There's no way she would ever hear this or listen to this, but I don't like being mean in general, but I think that was a really bad cast. Whereas the rest of the other new people, what do you think? So
Soji, here's my problem with her. Even like her counterpart that was activated who had like super fighting abilities and whatever, she always reminded me of a deer in headlights in every fucking scene. She's like, what? That happens? Yeah. What am I? Oh, I'm a synthetic. And there's what more of me that looks like? I was like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, just move on.
Well, and it's hard. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't, again, this is gonna sound really judgy, but there's a look to movie and TV actors that just kind of draw you in. Yeah. And Soji's a very good looking person, but they have a look that felt like it was keeping me on the outside. And so there's other characters that of season 1 and 2 that I thought I enjoyed more. Like I like Raffi a decent amount. Yeah. I like Captain Captain
Ramirez?
No, not Raph. Whatever.
Yeah.
I like the captain character. And there's a lot of other stuff. Like even Alison Pill's character, is that her name?
Yeah, she was awesome.
And so I think they do some cool stuff, but I think it was such a mistake to hinge so much of the first season on Soji. Yeah. And I think the writing is as middling as her performance is, the writing is so much worse. Second season, the writing is about the same, but I think they did a better job getting better performances out of them.
Yeah.
But third season, we're back.
Yeah.
Basically, they've written out everyone.
You basically enough don't even need to know what happened in season 1 and 2. Like I want to watch 10 minutes of season 2.
You don't need literally nothing from season 2. You do need to know that Picard died and had his body put into a synthoid.
Yeah. And
that's kind of not a huge deal, but it's it'll come up.
Yeah, it does come up because it happens in episode 2. So premise of season 3 is, you said, basically a fan service. It opens up with Beverly Crusher from, you haven't seen her since, it is true, for 20 plus years.
Since
Nemesis. Yeah. And she's shooting people, which was whoa, this is super weird.
Ando Crusher.
Yeah, she literally kills everyone, gets injured, sends a message to Picard in encryption that Picard wouldn't have known. So she kind of knew that, okay, I need to contact Picard and then send him a message that has a message inside that he's going to talk to someone on the crew from back then, which becomes William Riker, which is awesome because he's great. And then start on this whole journey. And the first thing she says, don't trust Starfleet. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Don't trust anyone, including Starfleet, which that's definitely a red flag of oh no, dark Starfleet. But it gets, they kind of work around it. And I think that the show overall will do a good job of having the characters feel right, having Starfleet feel like Starfleet, even though there's kind of some dumb shit they have to write in because they didn't bother to make the stories kind of fit it. But I think that do a good job, like you said. He gets the encoded message. It's like, don't trust anyone. So he's like, person I can trust is number one. So he goes, finds Riker. And so it's like these two guys, these cool guys on the adventure. And it's already fun because they feel like the characters from Next Gen. They actually, like Picard feels like Jean-Luc Picard from Next Gen, not this old, again, like nostalgic dude who's just frail and weak and so fucking emotional all the time.
Yeah, because I mean,
they bring it back.
Yeah, because like, they go like, you know, it's a whole convoluted thing. And I do want to mention one thing in episode 1, which is kind of funny because it's like he's acting like a dick, but it's like, is he really a dick? Not really. But they get to the ship, they find the ship, they find Beverly, but like when they enter ship together with guns up, like, yeah, like this is Next Gen, like this is like the action episode in Next Gen, because you literally see them going, number one, yes, Captain, like they like, oh, sorry, habits. And you're like, yeah, like, but then it keeps coming up.
They do a good job. It feels like the characters, but it feels like 25, 30 years has passed and they're in different spots. Like Picard and Riker are now equals. They're not just, you know, captain and first officer. And they do a good job of everyone coming in and feeling different, but not, you know, Luke Skywalker and Last Jedi different, where you're like, no, people had no idea that's where they would be. Yeah. And so I think they did a really good job in terms of that stuff. I think they did a good job with the story. Like you're new in the you're fresh into the early parts of the story, but I think they do a really good job developing the plot. I think Jack is actually like they do a really good. They did a great job casting him.
Yeah,
he's really good, and he actually like goes toe to toe with Captain Boyle, with John, like with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
as an actor. Yeah, and he doesn't feel out of place. Like he doesn't feel out of his depth the same way that Soji did. Yeah. So I feel like they did a really good job casting him, and I think they did a way better job writing this plot. So apparently they got rid of the old showrunner, so Alex Kurtzman, who's been like the Kevin Feige of Star Trek for a bit, but he sucks. Nobody fucking likes what he does. Everyone fucking hates this guy. Yeah. And so they got a different writer who seems to know Star Trek a little bit more, not just know, but like understand in his soul and his gut what Star Trek's supposed to be. And Picard feels like a movie of Star Trek. It's not like the TV show where, you know, you go to a new planet, you like come across an alien race that represents a modern day moral dilemma. It's not that, but it's a very accurate portrayal of if they took TNG, put it into a movie, but then 30 years later with all this fan service, and they did a good job. Yeah,
like it's just, it feels so clean because like number one, like the season 1, I just didn't know where they were gonna go. This one's like, okay, there's like a progression. There's some predictable things that happen, but there's still enough mystery to go, okay, I still want to know more, and I'm following the story exactly of like, I know as much as Picard knows, but he's just super smart, so he'll figure his way out of it. But then you're just like, okay, like episode 2, you know, they find Beverly, they do all this stuff, and then they counter, I'm gonna assume, the season 3's antagonists, because like that ship comes in, and man, whoever, I don't know who the actress is, but man, that's a super cool villain. I was like, whoa.
So that's Christopher Plummer's daughter, I think. So the actor, Christopher Plummer, who's a huge actor guy from Sound of Music. Yeah. I think he was in Star Trek at some point, but his daughter. Yeah. That's his daughter.
I know.
And so so I think we should leave our Picard discussion there because we want to save it. Yeah. You will watch the entire series and we'll do a kind of a spoiler discussion of it. I'm very excited to see what you think.
Worf's in it. He's awesome. He's so cool.
And he's a pacifist now.
Fuck that. He's not a pacifist.
Yeah. He's trying to be. And so, we'll talk about that on a future episode. Yeah. I am very excited for you to watch it. I think overall, I would if you like TNG, finally have something worth watching. Yeah. And I would recommend watching Picard season 3. Maybe watch a YouTube recap of season 1 and 2 just so you know what happened, but you really don't need to. Yeah. We already gave you the only thing you need to know. Picard died and he's now a synthoid, but it's not really that important.
And Raffi is a recovering addict who's addicted to other things, which that's how addicts work. Like me. Yeah. I'm an addict.
Technically. So everything else doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah. And Worf is awesome. But yeah, so, and here's one thing I will say is that if you've finished Picard, have you watched Lower Decks yet?
I'm not.
Fuck, watch it, please. It's just funny.
Yeah,
don't take it seriously. It's just fun.
Yeah.
They just watch it. It's great. They poke a lot of fun at the lore of Star Trek, the original one, and TNG, and it's just it's a good time. But
I gotta watch it.
Yeah. So here's like kind of the last thing is that I do want to talk about the move because every episode the podcast was me like talking like, oh, this podcast is changing. This podcast is changing. This podcast is changing, and it has finally changed, obviously, because we have video. So here's the reason.
That's the only thing that's changed, though. That's it. That's the only thing.
It. No, here's the reason why is because David and I were we were neighbors. It was like a couple blocks away. I moved
literally.
I moved to my dad's house. We still did the podcast in person. We did the ultimate move from going my wife, myself, and my dog.
Nice dab. That was a dab.
And we moved from my home area for the last 34 years, technically, because I'm 37. And went across the states, we drove across the states because I didn't want to put Cadence in a crate, and I think she would just be traumatized. She would be forever changed. So we decided to drive across the states, which is kind of cool. But also, when you think about it, I was actually kind of scared during, and was totally relieved when I got here. Yeah. So I'll tell you all the states we went. We went from British Columbia to Washington, Idaho, Montana. Montana is a wonderful state, but also super scary.
Montana's what's immediately south of Alberta, right?
It's south of Alberta.
Or is it 2 states?
And it's right of Idaho.
Right about, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So went to that, Wyoming, South Dakota, Minnesota, Illinois, what's the cheese one? Shoot. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and to New Jersey.
Damn, dude, you went to lots.
Went to a lot, and it took us, we originally planned it from Sunday, April 9th to the Friday, but we realized one day we kind of fucked up because we wanted to go see Mount Rushmore during the trip, but we're like, oh, that's like 10 hours of driving plus us 2 hours stop. That's 12 hours. And driving at night is scary, but I'll get into that. So we left on April 9th and we woke up at 6. And we've packed, but we haven't really fully packed into the car. So we spent a very slow kind of 3 hours doing it because in my head, I'll be honest, hopefully enough, maybe my coworkers would listen to this. I don't know. Who cares? I was kind of in my head emotionally. I was like, I don't want to go. Like, what am I doing? Like,
I get that.
I can just work remote. It will just be a pain in the ass. I'll fly in once in a while, but I shouldn't do this. But that's like my procrastination head kind of talking a little bit.
Inner saboteur.
Exactly. Like, that's actually a great way to say it. I was trying to sabotage myself going, you shouldn't do this. You just stay, live with your dad, and you'll be fine. You'll make a lot of money. It'll be great. I mean, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But so Jill and I were kind of going through that. And it was really emotional once we had everything packed in. Because we were supposed to leave at like 1 hour packing, leave at 7, go see my mom, and then go. We didn't get out of the border until noon. Like, that's how slow we were. So it was pretty bad because like we were just going super slow. And I think I broke down. I broke down when I saw my mom. Like, she's laid to rest, but like all the emotions, like, we left the house that my mom and dad lived. And I was like, this is my last time really kind of like seeing this house. Every time I'm back here, I'll be visiting, not living. And that's like a huge, when you think about it, like that's so huge. So we left the house. I was crying, saw my mom, cried, hugged my dad, cried, and drove to the border, Pacific Crossing. And I was like in tears until I got to the border guard. I was like, I gotta be cool. I gotta be cool. And the border guard was really super nice. We imported my car and then we drove in the States. And in my head, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then, you've done this drive a lot. So like people who live in British Columbia, or at least in the Lower Mainland, driving to Seattle is quite a lot of people do it. But there was a point where I will name this town Everett. Past Everett, you start taking, I think, the US 3 or becomes the I-80.
Sure.
I've memorized going down to Seattle all the time. This is the first time when we took that left to go east across the country, I cried again because like this is the first time being off the road or any roads I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
It was just like, it was shocking, sad, but also exciting at the same time. And yeah, we just started driving and it was crazy.
That's cool. I feel like that's such an exciting turn. Like you said, it's like the first time you've gone off the path you're used to.
Yeah.
And it's like, we do that every day. I think we don't realize how much routine is ingrained in our behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much more comfortable you are, getting coffee from a shop you've been to because like, you know what to expect. Like, okay, when I go in, I'll go in line here. I'll talk this. I kind of know what's on the menu. Like maybe I'll get something new, but you kind of just like, what it is. And it's just like that safe feeling is there when you're in the routine. And so all of a sudden you veer left and you're like, there is no more routine. There's
I was
nothing.
like everything here is new. So like we drove. We were supposed to be in Idaho. We stayed in Wallace, Idaho, in this like little like ski resort town. We were supposed to be there at 6. We got there at 10 because we left late. And it was weird because we were like driving areas. I'm like, oh, this looks like a Sawyers, which is like kind of like a farm town in British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
But like now we're in a farm town in kind of like Washington, then gets to Idaho, which is like in like the ski resort town. And it was just like so crazy. And then I think when we got to the hotel, we were scared because like we're driving like in like mountain passes at night with fog and people going like 70 miles per hour.
Way too fast. Yeah.
I was like, fuck this, Jillian. We're going to go slow. Because Jillian and I would split it up. Like we would drive I would drive 200 miles and she would drive 200 miles. Yep. Kind of like round that kind of split. And it was really fair. Yeah. But we were really honest with each other. I'm like, okay, if I feel too tired, we'll switch. And if you feel too tired, we'll switch. So we're prepared to like split it up evenly. Or if she doesn't feel like driving, I'll drive more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just to make sure, like, okay, be open and honest. If you don't feel good, just let us know. We'll stop. We'll stay at night. I don't care. Just safety, smooth is fast is smooth. Like that's all we cared about. And then when we got to the hotel, it was just like, wow, this is the furthest I've ever driven away from my house. And it was just so, I don't know. It's just like, I'm not conveying it right. But like when I got to the hotel, we got out and I cried again. I literally cried again.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. And
to me, when you said that, it sounds like when Sam and Frodo are like leaving the Shire and he's like, if I take one more step, this is the furthest I've ever been from the Shire, Mr. Frodo.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and it's weird because like you and I, and like I've traveled the world, you and I have traveled together, but this is the first time like it was, I can't go back. Like, but even in my head, I woke up in the next morning and I was like, we can still go back. Like I was still inner sabotaging myself. Like we can still go back.
Yeah,
still
for
go
sure.
back. But it's like, get in the car, fill up the gas, and just go. Like every day was just like forcefully going. And it took the third day to feel, okay, we're doing this.
Wow. Where did you wake up on the third day?
So first night was Wallace. Third night was Billings in Montana. And then third night was Rapid City, and that's in South Dakota.
Okay.
I believe, yeah.
And so you woke up and you're like, we're doing this. We're really doing this.
Yeah, we're still doing this. Yeah. And, I was so worried because we actually bought pills for Cadence because she was sitting in the back seat and she just laid down. She was such a good
lot of
trooper.
driving for a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we stopped pretty often. Like every about 2 hours, we'd go to the rest stop. And thank God, thank you, America, for having awesome rest stops. Like our rest stops had like Wi-Fi. It was like fucked up.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like this rest stops, bathrooms are clean, people were friendly, and it was great. Like it was just like, and Cadence can like run around, play fetch, and she was so good. Like I was so worried she was going to be like really bad, and she'll double the time. But she got her willies out. She took a pee, she took a poo, got back in the car, drank water. And she was ready. She's like, and she knew. Like, I think she was like, without Cadence and we're doing this, Jill and I don't think we would have had a great time.
That's amazing. I love dogs. How's Cadence adjusting to the new place? So I guess we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
So continue me on the journey. So that's South Dakota. You wake up, you're like, all right, things. This is the point. We're past going back. We're on this journey now.
Yeah, actually, I will say this is that the biggest adjustments that I had to go through was driving fast in Canada. If you're not familiar, in Canada we use tarmac, so it's tar. It's smooth, but it does deteriorate faster. In America, they use some tarmac, but you use a lot of concrete. So I definitely felt underconfident driving, especially when we got to Montana, because you're still in the Rockies on the west part of Montana, and you're going downhill. And you're going downhill at minimum 70 miles per hour, but the speed limit is 80 miles per hour. So translation to that is 80 miles per hour is like 120, 130 kilometers per hour. So
on
here's
windy mountain roads. Fuck.
Yeah, here's the fucked up thing is that you're still going through the Rockies, going 80 miles per hour, 125, 120, going downhill towards curves, and those other people on the road that will feel way confident than you in bigger cars, going 90 on curves that do not have railing. So this is me. I'm like, I just told this, I'm so sorry. I'm going to drive slow. So I drove like 70, 75 and 80 zones.
I'm so not slow.
Yeah. I'm sorry, other Americans that had to deal with me. But yeah, I literally had white knuckle driving. I was like, yeah. Like, I'm like really scared. And this
That's
also
so scared. No railing.
Yeah, no railing. I'm like literally
Fuck that.
I was kind of getting to like paranoid nature because every time I did a turn, my mind would go in, oh, if I just did this, we're dead. And we'd be down in that ditch and dead. So I didn't tell this to Jillian at all. I didn't feel comfortable until we got to like maybe Chicago, because driving there is really easy.
Yeah, city driving.
Yeah, but like I literally was like, I don't feel confident because when Jillian got behind the wheel, she's going 90.
Oh man, see, I would rather me drive those awkward roads than be in the car when someone else is driving, because at least I have control and like I can feel the car. I hate that. Like even the Coca-Cola, it's not nearly as treacherous sounding.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't mind doing 130, 140 on windy roads when I'm driving, but as soon as I'm in the passenger seat at like 120, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No,
chill the fuck out.
I'm fine with Jillian because I've been with Jillian for a long time. Like we've been together for like 16 years. I know how she drives, so I'm really confident that it felt like, oh, okay, if Jillian's driving, she can do it. Like it's fantastic.
Fair.
It's awesome. So that's the one comment I want to make. So the next thing I want to talk about, so with Rapid City, it's right next to like the first kind of like real main pit stop that we wanted to go to was Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And Mount Rushmore is actually pretty dope. It's like,
okay,
a lot of people from North Dakota would say Mount Rushmore kind of sucks. It does. So seeing it in person, seeing it in person is really cool. Like to see like, oh, like you see the heads of the presidents, TLDR. The person who made it was really kind of like weird and was really buddies
out, weren't they?
Yeah, it's like kind of cracked out. And when you see the heads, they're really majestic and beautiful, but you see all this kind of like pebbles at the bottom, like near like under the head. That's the garbage that they left. They simply just left it. But apparently I remember watching this from Adam Conover's Adam Ruins Everything, is that it was actually supposed to be the full body of all the presidents there. So I was like, oh, so it's kind of cool, kind of sucks. And the weird thing about it, they monetized the shit out of the place. Like, it's not like, this is my first taste of like, oh yeah, America's going to try to squeeze every dollar out of you. Because thankfully enough, we were there in the off season, which was weird because it was really hot. It was like 26 degrees Celsius. Huh. But like leading up to Mount Rushmore, you go through this like little like touristy town that has all these like weird rides and hotels. And you're like, yeah, like, oh, they're trying to squeeze every fucking dollar out of you. And you get up there, it's $10 for parking. And you can kind of see it right when you get out of your car. Here's the one thing that kind of pissed me off. No dogs allowed.
Huh.
I was so mad. I was like, I really wanted to take Cadence here. So you can get up to the entrance pylons. Like you go back to my tour, you can see it where there's like entrance ways. You can't really go beyond it with a dog. And so you kind of just like, Dylan and I kind of just like stood there and sat there going, that looks cool. And then we would go one at a time to go really close to see it. And that's where you can see like my selfies.
I see. Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, that's kind of neat. And then literally we were there for like 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, let's go back. Go back to the hotel and peace out.
Yep.
And go from there. For listeners, you're probably going in your head, how come you didn't stop at Yellowstone? Yellowstone was closed. Weirdly enough, April.
And no dogs.
No dogs too. So Yellowstone was closed. There's actually a lot of snow from the distance that we saw it. It's covered in snow. Like it was like, okay, yeah, I see why it's closed. And two is no dogs. First, I was like, oh, that's kind of stupid, but it kind of makes sense because dogs can really fuck up the ecosystem. But here's the main reason why is that those thermal pools, like the guys are like Old Faithful. Old Faithful is really hot. All the lakes are really hot because all the, the geothermal pools. And apparently dogs have died there because dogs just jumped in there and boiled alive.
Yeah, I'm good.
So we skipped that.
So you go to Mount Rushmore, you keep driving, you end up, you were saying that Chicago was kind of the first time that you felt comfortable on the roads again?
Yeah, but actually before that was after Mount Rushmore, the next day we went to the Badlands. I'm not too sure you saw my photos. It's like the place that has like, it looks like an alien planet. It looks like where they shot like The Martian.
Yeah, sure.
Here's the cool thing. It's really expensive, $30 to go through it.
Really? Huh.
But you can drive through it, which was really cool because we got to see prairie dogs and buffalo.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool. But anyways, after the Badlands, we just went to see Wall Drugs, which is kind of like a tourist trap town. It's fine.
Sure.
Cheap donuts were really good. And then, and then after that, it was just like everything else sucks.
Well, then you just get into city stuff, and then it's just like the same city stuff, but different city stuff.
Yeah, it took us after that like about 2 days to get to Chicago because we went there to Fairmont, Minnesota to Chicago. And Chicago is dope. It's a cool town.
I've never been. I was supposed to go in high school, but I got in trouble and my parents didn't let me go.
Really?
Yeah. For band trip, we went and I can't remember what it was. I think I'd skipped too much school or something, and they found out because like at that point my parents lived in Florida, but I still lived in Ottawa, so I was living with my sister. Yeah. And so they didn't really know, but then they found out all at once that I had skipped like 100 classes. And they're like, yeah, we're not letting you go on this trip. And I was like, fuck. So I've never been to Chicago. I want to.
We planned it out saying, so we got there at 3 and just kind of like walked around the night at the town. Got deep dish pizza.
Good shit, man. Oh, fucking bread lasagna.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing is that you cannot compare pizza from New York to pizza to Chicago, deep dish pizza.
So different.
It's different. And I've said that 100 times and people still think, oh, New York pizza is better or Chicago's pizza. Like, no, you can't compare it.
It's so different.
It's different. So fuck off. Like, it's just so both. Good. It's great. Yeah. Like I would say, if you come here, I'll get frozen pizzas from Chicago delivered and we'll eat deep dish.
Hell yeah.
But Chicago felt kind of like Seattle, but flatter.
Sure. Okay.
And older.
And windier.
Wasn't that windy when I was there?
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
It's called the Windy City.
Yeah. So we walked around for quite a while in Chicago and it was great. Literally great. But like that morning when we were leaving Chicago was pretty much kind of like the worst kind of day for me.
Oh.
So that was the Friday. So here's the events. So checkout was at 12. So we woke up at 6, left the hotel at 7 to walk around for the next 4 hours. So we packed up, walked around and, had coffee, had breakfast and kind of like just get experience what Chicago was like on the water. And it was great. Fantastic. A lot of fun. Got back to the hotel, kind of did our last checks. And you have to understand every time before we leave, we do checks in the hotel. We check it underneath the covers, check all the drawers. It's just routine for us.
Yep.
We skipped one check is in the bathroom behind the doors. I left all my toiletries. So my toothbrushes, my razors, my personal like sanitizers and face creams and everything.
How far did you get before you realized?
I was already in Ohio.
Fuck.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck. So I didn't know this. So this is later to, I transferred should I say how much I transferred into my US bank account? I don't know.
No, I don't think you need to tell us.
It was a sizable amount. It was a sizable amount and it has not come into my US bank account. and it hasn't been returned to my Canadian bank account. So
was it wire transfer? Or
it was wire transfer, yeah. And BMO was like, we did everything right. Something happened at TD in America. That's who I bank with. And so this is me in my back of my head. I'm like panicking because that's a lot of months. Like I can't just it was like $500 to $1,000. I could kind of shrug it off. It's a lot of money.
It was more than that,
but it was a lot of money. And I was like driving and panicking at the same time. Like, what do I do? Like, okay, my dad is investigating, checking it out, and it's great.
Yep,
it's fine. So my day is kind of fucked up already.
You're a little stressed.
Thankfully enough, Ohio roads are great. We did the toll road, and it was back to tarmac. And man, the rest stops in Ohio on the toll roads, fucking awesome. It's awesome. Like Tesla superchargers there. We had a Tesla gas station with cheap gas, and the food, it's like a little mini food court.
Oh, I love
those. Had all the fast foods, but we didn't eat it. But it was just nice. You use the washroom; it's super clean. I just talked to the locals. I'm like, yeah, so what's around? Everyone's so friendly. It's great.
Oh, that's great.
But then we got near to Ohio, and the next stop before to the hotel, we stopped in Akron, Ohio. So you have to understand, Jillian's really good at researching some places. This is the one, just like today, we didn't check the bathroom. We didn't really check Akron too much. So Jillian wanted to stop before the hotel is the first Krispy Kreme location that has ever opened before they kind of sprawled across Canada, all across North America.
North America, yeah.
So that's kind of like a destination. It's kind of cool because Jillian likes to sweet things. Cool. She likes to bake good. So right before we turn off the highway, I got a message. Are you familiar with Mac, the studio dog at MKBHD?
Nope.
Okay, so there's a dog that's really well known with Marquez in the studio. Really, I've met Mac a bunch of time. I love Mac. He's a great dog. There's a bunch of videos on him. I get a message saying, unfortunately enough, he's passed away.
Oh no, Jesus.
Yeah. And this is all the same fucking day too. So I was looking forward to having Cadence and Mac be best friends. Because I was I know they would get along.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm telling Jillian we're feeling really sad about it. I'm messaging the team. I'm let me know if there's anything I can do. I'm almost there. I'll be there on Monday. Blah, blah, blah. And then 5 minutes after that, I think you and I talked. We witnessed a fucking shooting. Because I'll put this on the Patreon page. So join patreon.com/wing it of the events I'm going to describe. So we get to this weird area and a stoplight. So we stop, see a guy in white run across the street to the other side. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Maybe he stole something and whatever. And then I hear this pop cracks. And I thought, I'm oh, maybe that guy lit off some fireworks. I don't know. It's been a while since I heard a gunshot. And then Jillian's no, that's a gunshot. And I was what? And then we see a guy in the distance. In the video, you can't see it. A guy from the distance comes up from the shop. It looks like he's shooting. And then the light goes green. And Jillian's go, go, go. I will admit, I kind of froze up because I didn't know what to do. Because in my head, I'm okay, we can run or should we stay for the cops or whatever? And Jillian's let's go. So we're running. We literally ran away in a car. Another car almost hits us. And we'll just go, 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 go. And our adrenalines are so high.
Well, yeah, if you fucking saw a shooting.
Yeah. And I was in my head, I'm oh, that was the only time later where I felt oh, maybe moving to America was a bad idea. So listeners, you're probably mad, oh, you should have stayed for the witness and give the footage and everything. So we got to the hotel. We're thinking about that. It's oh, should we call the cops? So Jillian starts researching the area that we were in the town that we're in. It has a grade letter F for crime and safety, F for schools, and F for job employment. And we're oh, God, we didn't research this town at all.
No, you just were planning on driving through.
Yeah. So
that sucks.
Yeah. That whole night we woke up I didn't want this to be traumatic for us, so I forced us to watch that dash camera a couple times to kind of like try to normalize it a little bit.
Normalize it for sure.
To not make us scared of driving at all or anything. And it was the only time where I had to drive after, because we got out of the car because we got a little bit lost. And Jillian's like, "Can you drive?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll drive."
Sure.
And yeah, it was just so surreal. Just like seeing a shooting.
That's wild. Yeah. And like, you've only been there a couple days. And like, you've spent many weeks in your life in the States, but it's like, of course, now that you're moving, you're going to see your first one.
Yeah. But like, now I have that understanding. I'm like, oh, that's a really bad neighborhood. Of course, there's going to be shootings. And then that night I was researching and just seeing the shooting was reported. Because in Canada, and like that would be all over news. Like people would be talking about it for weeks on end, trying to find out. This one's like that night, no news. Morning, no news. When we got in New Jersey, I was looking up, no news. I'm like, well,
no.
Guess that's light.
That's just what it is.
Yeah. And the next morning, literally we just kind of drove through everything. And it was just weird. Like, oh, today we're going to arrive in New Jersey.
That's the big day.
The big day.
We got there.
And it was weird.
So how's it?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
How's it been settling into the new house? Because you're just renting this one or like loaning it or whatever.
We're just renting it from my aunt's niece. And it's kind of weird because like I don't want to unpack too much because I know I have to pack up in a couple months anyways. But yeah, like everything is kind of like I said from the start, it's like it's the same but not really. So I'll probably talk about this later in the episodes, future episodes, because those
you've been going for a while.
But like here's the kind of like the biggest gripe is two things. Driving here super aggressive and people text too much while driving. I've literally seen people with the smartphones and just like looking and like driving.
Jesus.
And I'm like, this is
the fines must not be nearly as big as they are here.
This is another story because I have to do a driving test or a written driving test. Hopefully, if I don't have to do a different test, we'll talk about New Jersey driving rules later because I'm really familiar with it. It's just a fine. In Canada, you can be suspended for doing that.
Well, and it's like the first fine now I think is $700-800. So the first time they see you with a phone, you touch it once, you hold it, you do this, they can fine you. I think it's $700-800, and then after that, was that?
It's $200 here.
Yeah, that's not even a fucking like. Yeah, $200 is a lot of money, and like, yeah, it's like I'm not gonna do it, but it's not the same. Like, I do not fucking touch my phone.
Yeah.
And here, like, because the idea of like $1,000 fine is insane. And then the second time, you get demerit points. I think third time it's a suspension, and it's just like I'm actually totally okay with that because every time I'm on the road and I see cars swerve or like do really bad maneuvers, I can look in the rearview mirror and see that they're looking down on their phone, and you're like, you fucking idiot! What is so important that you're putting yours and everyone else beside you's life at risk? Fuck you, you suck.
Yeah, I think it's because this kind of relates to my second gripe. You cannot walk and go to your destination here. There's no sidewalks here. That
sucks.
There's like, it's rare to see a sidewalk. Because, where I used to live near you, if I was like, oh, I kind of want to drink, I'm just going to go to 7-Eleven. I can walk that. You can, it's kind of a little bit farther for you, but you can walk it. Here you have to like drive. You have to, because I don't feel comfortable walking on the shoulder of the road with Kate.
No, of course not.
Yeah. It's so dumb. And I kind of get it too, because the most of your time you're driving here, because like it takes me 40 minutes to get to the office, 40 minutes to come back. That's an hour, 20 minutes. And this is a weird convoluted way. Is that okay? That's an hour and 20 of a day. No wonder why you're kind of texting, because you're kind of bored and you try, maybe there's something going on in your life and you need a text, but it happens too much. And is like, maybe that's a relation because you're commuting, commute's too long. That's why you're on your phone.
Yeah. I think it's going to be tough because even where we lived in Surrey, I am upset at how not walkable my life is. Like it used to be, I could leave my front door. I could walk to 7 different breweries within 5 minutes. I could walk to 2 different grocery stores. There was all these things that were really lovely. There was a park literally across the street. And Surrey, there's parks that I can kind of walk to. There's the 7-Eleven. There's like a sushi place, a pizza place, and an Indian place that are mostly designed for takeout that are kind of there, but it's still not walkable. So to hear that New Jersey's even worse sounds so fucking soul draining.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's just so weird how, like, there's a pharmacy literally like 500 meters or 3.3 miles. I don't feel comfortable walking it because I have to go through a highway on the shoulder, through a 4-lane highway I have to walk across, and then uphill on a shoulder again onto grass, and then go there, and have to do that on the way back. I was like, no, there's no way. Like, I'll just drive it.
Get my car.
Yeah, but
way safer.
It's way safer, but it's unhealthy, and that I'll talk about that later too. Because like, my diet has changed, and I force myself to eat healthy, which I'm really proud of. But
good.
It's not great.
Okay.
Yeah. But
anyways, we'll have to talk about that, and we'll do it. We'll definitely elaborate more on your experiences because I'm very fascinated. You've done a really good job storytelling.
Yeah.
This episode has gone long.
This episode's gone long, and I will say this: I did cry when I got here again.
Aww.
Yeah, I literally just I got on my knees and just like I was like unpacking some stuff, and then Jillian looked at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." And it's like literally just like I think I cried for at least like good 10-15 minutes.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, fair. Totally valid. And it hopefully made you feel a little better. Sometimes crying is like the best medicine.
Yeah, I mean, because like, there was like, for you've moved place to place and place and place. I'm not, it's not like you've pretty much experienced this. I think mine's maybe a little bit more intense because I have traveled a lot, but I've always come back to BC. Mm-hmm. I've lived in BC for like 34 years. Now I'm living in a technically different country on a whole different area.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And like, this is the first time you've ever lived away from your family. And so it's like really like you obviously had striked it out on your own, but like now you're forging your own path. So it's an entirely new thing, an entirely new adventure. Yeah. That's really exciting, but it is a lot.
It's a lot.
So I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And I think hopefully enough, like I do welcome any of the listeners here to like message me. You don't need to check up on me. I'm fine. Like, don't go, I'm fine. But if you want to like talk to me, you DM me on Twitter. I do check all my DMs insanely how it is. But if someone goes, hey, I would like to talk about move, I'll gladly will just blurt out everything you need to be. Yeah, and just talk to
me. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
But anyways.
And what's your handle on Twitter where can they reach you?
At Jono Tan 86.
Excellent. And we also have at Let's Wing It Pod.
Yep.
Is our own is our podcast one, or Let's Wing It at gmail.com or Let's Wing It Pod?
For the
Let's Wing It 22.
Let's Wing It 22 at gmail.com. The best way to get contact with me outside of the Twitter is our Patreon. So go to patreon.com/Let's Wing It. Actually, I want to shout it out because I do have a computer here.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a while, so let's shout them out.
So our newest drumette, Emma Franklin. Thank you.
Ooh, Emma.
Mark Bradshaw, Maury Martinez, Sly Merlin, Ethan Lowe, David Curry, Briggs Wellman, Emiro Cole, Daniel Quasar, Joe Norton, Cody Owen, Matthew Noonan, which is our big supporter.
Big saucy boy, our saucy boy.
Yeah, saucy boy. We got Mike 1814.
Yeah, Mike.
And I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher your name every single time. Guillermo Navarro.
Guillermo Navarro.
Yeah.
Is it not Guillermo?
I'm so sorry.
I need to look at it.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's our first one, though.
Yeah.
They did it. And that's 14 drumettes. Shout out. Drumettes. Support us on Patreon.
Yeah.
We are not taking the money out of it for like personal use. It's going to be just for business stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, honestly.
So it's covering
I
our
finally
Riverside membership.
The first Patreon, and it's paying for the Riverside service. So
yeah, so you can thank it for the video. Well, we're gonna need gear. We're gonna need movie tickets. We need software. Like that's actually probably something that I should put on the podcast is editing software. Maybe I should just learn Resolve so we can save the money. But yeah, there's all kinds of expenses. It's not going to our personal coffers. Just going to make content.
Even with the future potential sponsor, if you're a drumette, if you're interested. Because we said in the warm-up, That money literally is just gonna either pay for equipment or flying David out here or flying me back over there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And we want to make it fucking awesome and super fun. And we do it for fun. We're not really, I don't think we're planning on making our careers podcasting, but it's a fun project. We're having a good time. Yeah. And we need money to do it, and we don't want to pay to make this content.
I will pay for it, but it's like it can like be a financial money pit. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, and like I am trying to be more financially smart in my 30s and save for a house and do the stuff, although it seems so fucking unlikely. But
and the last thing I will have to say,
I'm trying.
So we're signing off, but I will say that this podcast, for legal reasons, I have to say, is owned by JoDa Media Ltd. Owned and operated.
JoDa.
JoDa.
Media Empire, this is.
Boy. All right. See you later.
Okay, bye.